Mock exam question number 2. A. The consequences of a growing human population have been a concern since the times of Thomas Malthus, when he proposed that humans could exceed their carrying capacity on Earth. Number 1. Describe the concept of carrying capacity for a species. Number 2. Describe how a change in the availability of a specific resource can affect the carrying capacity of a species. Let's take a look at the answer for number 1. Carrying capacity definition, basically, has to describe that the carrying capacity for a species as the maximum population size of the species that the environment can sustain. So a good answer would be carrying capacity is the maximum number of individuals of a given species that an area's resources can sustain indefinitely for without significantly depleting or degrading those resources. Answers for number 2. So it's just saying that the availability of a specific resource increases, then the carrying capacity increases. If it decreases, then the carrying capacity decreases. So a good student's response. If the availability of a resource changes, the carrying capacity will change. For example, if the availability of food decreases, the food supply cannot support the same amount of people, the population will decrease. B. As the human population grows, forests are often clear-cut. 1. Describe one negative effect of clear-cutting forested areas. 2. Besides creating or expanding forest preserves, describe one mitigation strategy that humans can employ to reduce the negative impact of human population growth on forests. Number 3. Describe an additional benefit of the mitigation strategy described in B2. So here are some of the examples of one negative effect of clear cutting. We're going to focus on the second to last one. Clear cut areas have increased flooding compared to forested areas. Let's see how students use that reasoning in their response. One negative effect of clear cutting is flash floods. When all the trees and plants in a specific area are removed, the area is a lot more susceptible to a flash flood, making it a lot more dangerous for the surrounding areas. Let's take a look at the strategies to mitigate clear cut. So we're going to concentrate on build up, not out, and construct or maintain high density dwellings or neighborhoods to reduce overall land use for housing developments. Let's see how a student uses that idea in their response. One mitigation strategy that humans can employ to reduce impacts on forests would be smart growth of urban cities to reduce urban sprawl and keep human populations in highly concentrated urban areas so that forests do not need to be cut down as a result of urban sprawl. Number three's solution. So it's an additional benefit to that mitigation strategy mentioned in number 2. So build up, not out. High density dwelling was what was used in number 2. And the example is going to be expand upon. And they're going to be reasoning or using the reason reduces reliance on transportation fueled by fossil fuels, which decreases global climate change. The other ones are good as well. We're going to take another look at the other strategies as well on the next slide. Here are more of the strategies used. Again, take a second to look, pause if you need, but we're moving on. An additional benefit of smart growth is less pollution as compact urban areas have a smaller dependency on cars in day-to-day life, which means less fossil fuels will be burned as a result of driving. C. As a country industrializes, it often moves through a demographic transition. The model below illustrates the changes through the 4 stages of the demographic transition. 1. Based on the model, identify the stage in the demographic transition with the greatest change in crude birth rate. Number 2, based on the model, describe the relationship between the crude death rate and the crude birth rate that led to the trend in total population in stage 2. Number 3, explain one likely social or economic cause for the change in the crude birth rate illustrated in stage 3. Okay, y'all. Number 1, the answer is actually stage 2. So some of y'all picked stage 3 through the use of the internet, but I want to show you guys how stage 2 is the correct answer. So crude birth rate is identified as the solid black line. So if I take the start of the stage 2 and follow the black line at the end of stage 2, draw the difference. This difference, y'all, is much bigger than the difference between stage 3. Okay, so looking at the graph alone, I can tell it was stage 2, not stage 3. Be careful, y'all. The internet searches may be correct with stage 3, but you have to be able to interpret graphs. And it did say, based on the model. Okay, so you guys need to interpret the graph. Sorry for those yogis who missed it. It is stage 2, not stage 3. So the good answer is the stage in the demographic transition with the greatest change in crude birth rate is stage 2. So here for number 2, it wants us to describe the relationship between the crude birth rate and death rate and how it affects population. So the answer is the crude death rate decreased while crude birth rate remained relatively high, causing the total population to increase rapidly or exponentially. Let's see how a student uses that correct idea in their answer. In stage 2, the crude death rate drops significantly, while the crude birth rate remains relatively steady at a high rate. This means that a lot less people are dying, but a high number of people are still being born, dramatically increasing the population as a whole. Good answer. Okay, let's take a look at the answer for number 3. And again, explain one likely social or economic cause for the change in the crude birth rate illustrated in stage 3. So, birth rate. Right here, looks like it decreased. So, the transition from an agricultural country to an industrialized country makes more children a financial burden. But what we're going to be concentrating on is this right here. So, the expansion of women's status and access to education, economic opportunity, or political power in the country increases the age of first pregnancy or increases career advancement for women, decreasing the number of children born per woman. One likely social or economic cause for the change in crude birth rate, as illustrated in stage 3, is the increase in women's education and status. Women who obtain higher educations and jobs are more likely to have children later and have less. This is because women are given roles outside of housework, as well as knowledge about their health, both of which delays their childbearing years and decreases family sizes. D. During a demographic transition, intensive agricultural practices used to feed a growing population can result in soil eroding from crop fields and running off into surface waters. 1. Make a claim that proposes an effective long-term solution to minimize the erosion of topsoil into surface waters. 2. Justify the claim made in 1 by explaining an additional benefit to the proposed solution other than preventing the erosion of topsoil. Here are the correct answers to number 1. We're going to concentrate on maintain cover crops on fields after harvest. Crop rotation is a good solution to minimize the erosion of topsoil into surface waters. Rotating crops such as small grains and other crops like corn reduces erosion as the layer of residue protects topsoil from being blown away by wind and water. Good answer. Number two's solution. So we need to tie in an additional benefit. And since we had the maintain cover crops on field after harvest solution, we're going to also concentrate on the provides nutrients to the next crop answer. Well, here are some of the answers that you guys see. I'm going to take another look here as well. I'm going to be erasing this. And you can pause to read the information here. You may pause on the next slide as well. Here you guys go. Additional benefits. Pause if need. Finally, an additional benefit to crop rotation is an increase in soil nutrients. The variety of plants used in crop rotation utilize different nutrients in the soil, preventing any one nutrient from being depleted. Furthermore, each crop not only absorbs different nutrients, but releases them too, replenishing nutrients that may be deprived and taking in nutrients in overabundance. That's it for today, or the FRQ mock exam. Make sure you guys watch AP Tip of the Week and spend time practicing, y'all. We're in the end game. Have a good one.